Hi everyone, this is Mrs. Tevis-Finn, recording from room 114. Welcome to World War II, the European Theater, and our guided notes for Operation Overlord. So FDR and Churchill met in Cairo in December 4th through the 6th of 1943 to plan their invasion of France. FDR had to choose the commander, and he chose General Dwight Eisenhower. Hitler knew the Allies would invade France, so he did fortify the coast along the English Channel. Hitler thought that we would attack in a place called Pas-de-Calais, which is an area closest to Great Britain. So we did place dummy equipment or decoys there. So lastly, under that first set of bullets, guys, our real target, though, was, you could put down, was farther south. And it was 5 beaches along the Normandy coast. Alright guys, before we move on, I want you to look up these two for bonus. I want you to know what the DUKW, that's the acronym, they're sometimes called ducks. And I also want you to look up what these bunkers look like and tell me where you saw them for our Saving Private Ryan movie. Alright, so let's move on to the next slide. And under your guided notes, guys, it'll say D-Day, June 6, 1944. So I want you guys to know that spring of 44, America had sent to England 1.5 million American soldiers, 12,000 airplanes, and 5 million tons of equipment. So we were really gearing up. The only thing left to do was to pick the date and give the command to go. So guys, this attack had to be coordinated and precise. So the following bullets I'm going to walk you guys through. The attack, guys, you can put down, had to be at night. And it was to hide the ships, crossing the channel. Next, guys, the ships had to arrive, you can put down, at low tide so that they could see the beach obstacles. Next, guys, low tide had to come at dawn, so that the gunners bombarding the coast could see their targets. Next, the paratroopers, who were being dropped behind enemy lines. That's pretty scary stuff. So they were dropped before the main invasion. They needed, guys, a clear moonlit night to see where to land. And lastly, the weather had to be clear. Any high waves would have prevented a successful landing. So next, a question. Why was this invasion called D-Day? So I want you guys to put down that Eisenhower's planning staff referred to the day that the operation would begin with the letter D. So that became just, once he picked the day, that was called D-Day. So that's why this famous invasion is known as D-Day. And so after looking at the weather forecast, shortly after midnight, Eisenhower gave the command to go. Here's Eisenhower pictured giving his commands. Alright guys, that next bullet is, this was a massive coordinated attack with 7,000 ships carrying 100,000 soldiers headed for the coast of Normandy. The beaches had code names. I'd like you guys to write down the 5 beaches were Omaha, Utah, Gold, Sword, and Juneau. Several landings went well, for there were weak German defenses. For example, at Utah, we were able to drive the Germans back. However, at Omaha, Allies faced intense German fire, and their invasion almost disintegrated. General Omar Bradley, who was the head of the invasion for Omaha, made plans to evacuate. Alright guys, on the second page of that guided notes, we're almost done. Slowly, guys, the Allies, wore down the German defenses. What helped, which you don't really see in the movie, but the British and Canadian troops also were arriving, which provided valuable backup. But Omaha Beach, which was the scene of Saving Private Ryan, had 5,000 casualties. And so this day, which was known as the longest day, by the end, 35,000 American troops had successfully landed at Omaha, and 23,000 had landed at Utah. 75,000 British and Canadian troops had also arrived. And so, to summarize, this was the largest amphibious invasion to succeed in history. The most coordinated, the most precise, the most successful. Alright guys, I'd like to finish up with just taking you through some pictures. So I'd like you also to compare these to Saving Private Ryan, and we can finish the movie and look at the parallels. But let's keep going. So, here's a nice picture of Omaha Beach. It's not to scale, but it does kind of show you, what we were up against. Remember, the Germans were up here in the cliffs, and these hedgehogs certainly stopped us from getting to the beach. This should look familiar. So this was what the Germans were using, from up high on the cliffs. Here's Rommel, the desert fox. Now he's here in Europe inspecting these defenses on the beach. More anti-tank defenses here. This is a great map to show you those beaches I want you to know. So this is the coast of Normandy. Look up here, guys. Here is where Hitler thought we would go. So we did put the dummy equipment there. You just note, here's the shortest distance from the English Channel, but here is where our true D-Day occurred. Here is quite a busy map, but it does show you again this coordinated attack for D-Day. So this really looks like it came right from the film, but this is actually from real footage from D-Day. Again, swimming to shore. There's those anti-tank defenses that they were hiding behind. And here is the picture once we're able to secure the beach. They showed this kind of scene in the film as well. And also, remember, many Germans surrendered, became prisoners of war. To summarize as well, the death toll: 1 out of 10 Americans were killed or wounded. One of the breakdowns in communication that occurred in the war did happen here. For the Germans, believed that this was not the real assault on France, so that was definitely to our advantage. And this should look also familiar, the countryside that we see in Saving Private Ryan. For the Germans, were hiding behind these hedges and in these sunken fields. But it did take 75 days for us to finally control Normandy and then begin to head towards Paris to liberate France. Alright, this is Tevi signing off. I will see you guys with your homework so that you can finish watching Saving Private Ryan. Have a great night.